Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Bitcoin and it is time for another update. Today we will be discussing the short time frame as well, but I want to go quickly through the larger time frame for any of you who might be new. And here we are basically tracking a series of 1-2 setups that have formed in this area, and from the December 18 low, the December 2018 low, we are tracking another wave 1 up. It is possible to be tracking this as a series of 1-2 setups as well. In the end, it will need to be weighted out to see what type of overall structure is developing, because these are not even the only options for the large time frame. However, these are my current preferred interpretations. Now, in this case, within this structure, I am not convinced yet that this is done. I am still looking here for a possible extension in this fifth wave to the upside. So to go here from the November 22 low, from the beginning of this bull cycle, we have so far completed a wave 1 up, a wave 2 down, a third wave up, a fourth wave down, and now we are tracking the fifth wave to the upside. This is an overall fifth wave from a larger cycle perspective, where this would end up being another 1-2 setup. Now in that case, we could assume that this structure is complete. We don't need absolutely any additional highs to have a full count even within this interpretation, because I could consider this a 1, 2, 3, 4th and the 5th, and it would be done. It would be perfectly acceptable to have this as the 5th wave to the upside. However, I can still track continuation higher. I can still track further extensions within this structure, and I will be able to continue to do so as long as we hold here the area of support for the interpretation, where this would be a 1, 2, 3, not the full 5 wave move, and then we are looking now at a wave 4 correction and a fifth wave still to follow. In that case, I would be looking at support at the levels between the 101.8k level all the way down to the 73.3k level at the 61.8% retracement. So far, we have pushed into the 50% retracement, and we have started our initial stronger reaction to the upside. From this entire correction, this is the strongest reaction we have gotten so far. But based on the structure, I am not necessarily convinced, or if I don't even necessarily prefer that we have already bottomed here within this wave 4. And I have presented this a few videos ago already, but I am looking still for a possible extension lower within a fifth wave to the downside. Now, this isn't absolutely necessary, but I believe the structure would look better, it would work better with another low. Also, considering that oftentimes when we get divergences here on the RSI is when we actually start seeing the fifth wave form to the downside. Now again, other interpretations could work out in which we wouldn't need this low, but at the moment I do still prefer it, and this will remain the case as long as we hold here below the internal area of resistance in our wave 4 here for this ending diagonal in the wave C, which are the levels between the 86.3k all the way up to the 96.3k level. So far, we have only a 3-wave move to the upside, and we should be prepared for a top at any time in this interpretation. But if we manage to break within this structure, the 61.8% retracement, well, the probabilities would favor actually a shift into a bottom, into a different structure where we might have a bottom here in this wave 4. Now, I'm saying probabilities because even if we break here the 61.8% retracement, it is not guaranteed that this will lead directly to new all-time highs. Even if it does, it could still fail afterwards and form a new low. But what I would really need for a higher level of confirmation, a much more reliable signal basically, would be a larger 5-wave move to the upside. That is what would allow me to be tracking a highly reliable ABC movement, where we have in the wave A to the upside a 5-wave move within a leading diagonal. And I say leading diagonal because in the previous video I provided you an interpretation in which we could have even tracked an impulse here in the yellow scenario, but clearly this failed. And I have even provided you a restricted area of support to still be looking here for a third wave that could have started directly in this series of 1-2 setups, but since it didn't manage to actually work out, it didn't manage to hold even the 50% retracement, I didn't look here for the 78.6% retracement as I would normally for a wave 2, because I would have expected a shallow correction in this area if this really was to be a stronger third wave to develop. Yeah, and since we have failed to hold here the 50% retracement, it was sufficient to me to not consider this a high probability to still happen, and I was still favoring a larger wave 4 completion here than a continuation here in a 1-2 setup below the 50% retracement. And even though we have formed here and even invalidated completely this idea of a 1-2 setup, we still managed to push higher, and that honestly is no problem at all. It is really just an extension, as far as I can tell right now, within the wave 4, where previously we were tracking this as an ABC structure in this possible completion of the wave 4, and it was sufficient. We didn't need any more highs, and we got quite a nice rejection here at the 50% retracement. But since we actually did get a new high, all I really need to do is consider the extension, this movement, as an extension of the wave 4, and track this as a larger wave A, a B wave down, and then a C wave to the upside. Within this pattern, we can actually tell we have quite a nice structure. Quite clearly, this is a wave A, a wave B, and this would be a wave C. We have the 3-wave move to the upside in wave A, we have the 5-wave move to the upside in a wave C, and in both wave B here and here we have a 3-wave pattern. Very, very clear, very, very nice, and yeah, basically nicely structured and nicely defined. Now, within this movement to the upside, we have already a possible consideration for a 5th wave, or not a 5th wave, a 5-wave move to the upside within this wave C. But I have to say, I could easily still see another high. I could, if I were to go here in the smaller time frame, I could see an argument for this being a 1, 2, 3, 4th, and the 5th, and then have a complete count within the wave C. But honestly, it is not necessary for me. And if this white scenario is to play out, we do basically have enough waves once again, and we don't absolutely need any additional highs. And with that said, we didn't necessarily get to any ideal levels here in this extension in the wave C, but we have gotten to the 78.6% retracement, and if we were to look for some ideal targets, it would be the 96.8k, the 100% extension of the wave A. But as I always say, we don't need to get there, and also we don't need to stop there. But yeah, in this case, if we don't actually stop there, we would likely invalidate completely this idea of a larger wave 4 unfolding. But for now, I am still very, very cautious on this chart. We haven't seen the break here above the 61.8% retracement, and I do still feel like we have a lot of pressure that could take us back into a deeper correction in this larger wave 4, yeah? Again, we don't absolutely need it, but we need to be very much aware that it is on the table, especially as long as, I am repeating myself to make it absolutely clear, but as long as we hold here below the 96.3k level. Now, even though in the previous interpretation we have failed to push directly in the yellow scenario and create an impulse, we can still track here a larger ABC pattern to be unfolding. Even other scenarios are possible, but right now this is what I would be tracking. And I could actually argue that we would be able to even look here for an internal 1-2 setup where, yeah, in this case, I would allow the deeper retracement. This wouldn't be within a series of 1-2 setups that have formed in this area. And in that case, here, as long as we hold the 78.6% retracement, we have this entire area of support to look for a reversal for this 1-2 setup. Now, this isn't one of those high probability 1-2 setups. It would have been the case if we had formed it from this initial movement to the upside, but since we already have a possible ABC structure complete, we don't have the high probabilities for such a pattern. Now, as I was mentioning, in this wave C, we could still see another high. Well, this could also apply for this wave 1, and if you're interested for this very, very short time frame area of support, you could be looking here for a closer level at the 23.6% retracement for a possible extension here in another high. Now, in that case, we actually seem to have gotten very, very close to the first level of support, although, yeah, maybe I didn't draw this right, but no, it seems okay. Yeah, we haven't quite touched the levels of support for this possible extension in this area, but we could be looking here for a push another leg up in this structure within either the yellow interpretation or the white interpretation, which is why we are tracking it in blue. But again, the blue scenario applies for the other two interpretations, which are basically the main interpretations. And for now, yeah, I want to recap what has been discussed here. So in this area, we are focusing on the white scenario. The white scenario is a high risk to form another low into the larger area of support, possibly even as low as the 61.8% retracement at the 73.3k level, where if we break that, yeah, that would be quite bearish, but we don't necessarily need to focus on that right now. And then here in the shorter time frame, we can track a larger ABC structure in yellow that would allow here a break above the 61.8% retracement, but it is not a high probability trade. However, if you absolutely don't want to miss this opportunity to get into a position, especially from a large time frame perspective, that would be the area of support that I would be watching out for, yeah, the yellow interpretation. And once again, in blue, we are only tracking a possible extension within either scenario to the upside in another wave 5. And for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.